Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. Thank you always for your comments and discussion below the videos. So just gonna bring you this to start this video with. Rare June heat wave grips San Francisco as triple-digit heat stifles the west. So it has been very, very warm here the last couple of days. It's kind of cooled down, thankfully, today. It was like very hot and very still, at least where I was, for a couple nights in a row. It was extremely warm, and there was just absolutely no breeze at all. So that just made it even more like miserable. It was very hard to sleep. But anyways, yes, Fiesta Cranberry was keeping me informed about the temperatures in the Bay Area, and just extremely anomalous for San Francisco to be this hot. However, San Francisco, the Bay Area, and points points north, Portland and Seattle have been hot often in the last 2 to 3 years. So this is not just a one-time anomaly. This is a trend. This is a weather trend, a pattern that is increasingly more frequent as climate change progresses. Mother Nature cranked up the heat across the West during the first half of this week, with dozens of record highs shattered. San Francisco was among the cities to shatter record highs as the temperature throttled to 92 Fahrenheit on Sunday, up to the triple-digit mark Monday, and 98 Fahrenheit on Tuesday. Temperatures in San Francisco reached 100 Fahrenheit on Monday. That's just insane. 100 degrees in San Francisco doesn't happen. I lived in San Francisco. How long ago was this? Probably 20 years ago. Or so. Actually, longer than that. Probably closer to 30 years ago. So just, if you know the quote, the Mark Twain quote, the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. It does not get hot in San Francisco. It stays very, very cool in the 60s and the 70s, and 80 is an anomaly. 80 degrees is like, whoa, now that's warm. And around the entire Bay Area, that's 80, 90 is just like hardly ever. But now, this is a normalcy now. Temperatures in San Francisco reached 100 Fahrenheit on Monday, which was 3 degrees higher than the maximum temperature at Las Vegas, and equaled the high at Sacramento. Now, Sacramento gets very, very hot very, very frequently because they're inland. They tend to be the ones that are roasting, but that's a normal, regular thing for them. Monday's high beat the old daily record of 94 set back in 1994, and Tuesday's high shattered the old daily record of 88 set in 1985. Tuesday was the third consecutive day above 90 in downtown San Francisco, a streak that's previously happened only 13 times on record, and only the third time it's occurred outside of September or October. So extremely anomalous. Salinas Airport, 105. Good Lord. Santa Rosa, 101. San Francisco Airport, 100. California heat records on Tuesday. Thermal, 116. Palm Springs, 114. Salinas, 104. Napa, 102. Santa Rosa, 100. San Francisco, 99. San Bernardino, California sizzled at 102, 104, and 109 from Sunday through Tuesday, respectively, while the mercury registered 105, 107, 109 in Ontario. From Sunday through Tuesday, respectively, Monterey, California, which lies on the cooler waters of the Monterey Peninsula, recorded a high of 96 on Monday, breaking the old record of 91 set back in 1994. The high of 92 in Monterey on Tuesday shattered the old record of 78. Hold on. Hold on, let me read that again. The high of 92 in Monterey on Tuesday shattered the old record of 78 set in 2012. Yeah. A northward bulge in the jet stream combined with an area of high pressure stopped the June gloom in its tracks. The pattern created an offshore flow of dry air and pretty much stopped the traditional marine flow that creates morning low clouds and a cool afternoon sea breeze along the west coast. So that is, that's a feature in Los Angeles as well. June gloom. We have a marine layer, which is a prominent feature of our weather here. It keeps things cool. Over the last few years, the marine layer has disappeared. It was actually quite strong all winter, and it was there, and it was normal. But over the last few years, I've noticed that the marine layer is not there anymore. Even in winter, it's gone. You can go straight out to the coast, and it is dead clear. In the old days, I grew up in Los Angeles. In the old days, anytime you went to the ocean before noon, you would drive out to the coast, and there would just be this blanket of clouds. As soon as you got close to the ocean, there was a bank of clouds there, keeping everything cool until afternoon or 1 o'clock, and then they would start kind of burning away, or they didn't at all. But that bank of clouds is just no longer there quite often. So that's also something that is making for warmer temperatures in the Los Angeles area. I'm going to move on to this next article. This is from today. 2 oil tankers attacked, sparking oil supply fears. So they are trying to ramp up a regime change, let's attack Iran thing. And everybody knows this is happening. Everybody knows this is false and this is a joke. We are not only looking for a reason to go to war with Iran, we are creating reasons to go to Iran, to war with Iran. And the way to do that is to make things happen. Oh, same with Syria. Oh, there's a chemical gas attack. So I don't know if you guys are aware of the story. Jimmy Dore covered this, and some other progressive news channels covered this. I don't have the article with me. This was about 2 weeks ago, but basically it has been confirmed that those chemical gas attacks in Syria did not happen. They were false flags, and this is verifiable now. It's been confirmed. It's not somebody's opinion. They were false flags. They were made up events in order to get us to attack Syria. Of course, the people that knew that these were made up events long before that already knew they were made up events. They had already done investigations into the white helmets and to other people who were doing things in the area to kind of like make situations happen, so that everybody could be like, oh my God, the Syrian people, we've got to go in and help them. So this is what's happening in Iran. We're creating, there were some oil tankers attacked a few weeks ago or last week, and then again today or yesterday. These absolutely have to be contrived, because this hasn't been happening, right? This isn't something that's been happening in the last year or two. It's just all of a sudden it's happening now. All of a sudden we're saying, well, we don't like Iran anymore, and all of a sudden these things are happening. Oh, really? So just be very, very skeptical of the mainstream media and the news and what it is they are trying to tell you is happening, so that they can manufacture consent for everybody to be like, well, gosh, golly, gee whiz, we got to go in there. We got to help those poor people of Iran. The attacks were the second in a month near the Strait of Hormuz, a major strategic waterway for world oil supplies. Attacks on 2 oil tankers on Thursday in the Gulf of Oman left one ablaze and both adrift, shipping firms said, driving up oil prices over 4%. Over worries about Middle East supplies. The front Altair was on fire in waters between Gulf Arab states and Iran after an explosion that a source blamed on a magnetic mine. The crew of the Norwegian vessel were picked up by a vessel in the area and passed to an Iranian rescue boat. A second Japanese-owned tanker was abandoned after being hit by a suspected torpedo. The firm that chartered the ship said the crew were also picked up. A torpedo. The attacks were the second in a month near the Strait of Hormuz, a major strategic waterway for world oil supplies. The United States and Saudi Arabia, because they're trustworthy source. Saudi Arabia blamed Iran for the last month's attacks. That's so hilarious. Blamed Iran for last month's attacks using limpet mines, the incredible Mr. Limpet mines, on 4 tankers off the coast of the United Arab Emirates, a charge Tehran denies. There were no immediate statements apportioning blame after Thursday's incidents. We need to remember that some 30% of the world's crude oil passes through the straits. If the waters are becoming unsafe, the supply to the entire Western world could be at risk. So what do we got to do? We got to go in there and give them some freedom. Hey. So we can save those molecules of freedom. Because gosh, gee whiz. Yeah. This is just a stupid mess. And bound to get more stupid. Lastly, I'm going to read a little bit from the Extinction Rebellion newsletter. Newsletter 23, Radiohead joins the rebellion. Welcome to our 23rd newsletter. Yes, you read that subject right. Faced with a ransom from hackers, the legendary rock band instead opted for rebellion, releasing 18 hours of unheard material in an album online and donating the proceeds to Extinction Rebellion. Needless to say, we're very grateful. No industry, sphere, or genre is exempt from the threat of extinction. With this generous gesture, Radiohead have made clear that artists have as much a role to play as anyone. Artistic or not, it's a good time to be joining XR. Theresa May has just committed the UK to carbon neutrality by 2050, which is a long way away. But, good for Theresa May. She may, as well, have painted protest works on the face of Big Ben, but doing so wouldn't have made the point any better than this YouGov poll. Other indicators of a turning tide come in all shapes and sizes, from the Portuguese government to Auckland to Finland, from the University of East Anglia to architects to their students and back to their politicians. Well done to us and our allies. It's a doubly good time to be joining XR because even as the news is better than ever, the news is also worse than ever. Feedback loops are running faster than feared. India faces a serious drought, and police forces are making repressive noises. From England to Australia to Austria. See latest news below. Civilization itself is not only at stake, but at serious near-term risk. In a context like this, Theresa May's target for carbon neutrality is a positive but utterly inadequate step. Agreed. Fortunately, with civil disobedience proving so clearly effective, the solution is clear. More civil disobedience, and we've got plenty of that in the proverbial pipeline. Rebels from across Europe and beyond convened last week at Lolar, conferring at length to harmonize structures and plans for autumn's rebellion. We don't publish rumors here, but the rumors we have heard are exciting. And speaking of publication, another project looking to scale the rebellion is the launch of This Is Not a Drill, an Extinction Rebellion handbook. With enough arguments and advice to turn the most obstinate optimists into hardline activists, we hope this rare exception to our rule of not selling things will be warranted by a fresh-faced, bookish tide of new rebels. From books to books of letters, rebels, after something shorter to read, will no doubt be pleased and quite positively moved by a booklet of love letters for rebels and arrestees. And speaking of letters, many of those same arrestees have recently received communications from the police, which, while not exactly love letters, are inviting the recipients to optional interviews. If that's you, please read this message from XR Legal. Our wonderful legal and regen teams aren't the only ones taking care of rebels. A new initiative for rebel housing is hoping to provide accommodation across the UK, freeing up conscientious protectors to do more protection and less worrying about the rent. That's awesome. In a similar vein, the newly established and already excelling logistics Spaces Group have announced a decision for a new London space, replacing the previous office with National Workings. Let's see. Moving to another corporation, XR's BBC Tell the Truth campaign can celebrate a substantial step forward with the news that they're due to meet senior staff for a discussion of climate and ecological coverage. Not that this team is resting on its laurels, coming from an action at The Guardian last week, and with an action plan for July calling for newspapers to tell the truth on climate, which they hope will be taken up by XR UK's redoubtable regional network, as was done to great effect in December. Last but not least, XR itself has not only made the news, but been the news, with speculation and debate taking off over a proposal to create a pause at Heathrow Airport using drones. Headlines have predictably exaggerated the response, but there's no question the proposal has provoked serious debate in the XR UK community concerning not just the proposal itself, but the process by which such ideas are either are or are not taken forward. If y'all, I read something about that. Was it last week or the week before? About the plans to possibly shut down Heathrow. But I'm hoping it, I'm hoping it happens, even though they are threatening life imprisonment for the XR, the participants that might be, in on that little action there. But we'll see. We shall see. It's at least, at the very least, it's raising awareness. In the very least, there's been a lot of articles already written about it. But people really understand the implications of why you would want to close down Heathrow Airport? Just bringing into the light the fact that we don't need more infrastructure built for fossil fuel use. We need to stop it in its tracks immediately. As far as Theresa May's carbon budget, part of stopping it in its tracks is to get that carbon budget down to zero, not in 2050, but possibly 2025, which is what I believe the Green New Deal and other proposals have tried to put forth. That's only 5 years from now. Even that is a big, big accomplishment, and it's not going to happen, but you really have to set the timelines. You really have to be very radical in your timelines and in your proposals, because we don't have time. We do not have time. We have to stop on a dime. And 2025, even 5 years out, that would be like stopping on a dime. If any country were to get to zero emissions. There's a whole lot more to say about that, but I'm not going to go into it because I've already gone way too long in this video. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time.